Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the Pinterest Creators Festival. I'm Alexandra Nikolaev, Creator Inclusion Lead here at Pinterest, and I am thrilled to be here to have an important conversation around mental wellness with Brittany Snow and Jasper Guest, female founders of September Letters. Welcome, ladies. Nice to see you both. How are you?
Thanks for having us.
Good, thank you.
So, to give a bit of background, Brittany and Jasper launched September Letters, a mental wellness community, earlier this month. Brittany, you are an actor, a director, and you've been an activist in the mental health space for over a decade. And Jasper, you're the founder and CEO of Noise 784, a PR and branding agency, and Happy Noise, a good vibes brand. So the two of you became friends over your shared passion for breaking the stigma with mental health, and of course, your love for dogs, which I personally love as well. Thank you both so much for being here. We're really looking forward to this discussion around September Letters and mental wellness. So, if maybe Jasper, you want to tell us a bit about what September Letters is.
Sure. September Letters is a mental health letter writing interactive experience. We're an official partner program of Bring Change to Mind, which is founded by Glenn Close. And we are just so honored and excited to be partners with them. We feel like our missions couldn't be more aligned in terms of the storytelling aspect of both of our charities, if you will. And for us, there's been so much scientific studies behind letter writing that's why we decided to have this kind of interactive community that was so important to us to build.
Amazing. And I don't know, Brittany, if you want to share what influenced the name or the inspiration behind the name September Letters.
So, yeah, I would love to. This idea kind of came about a long time ago, and I never knew what I wanted to do with it. It took a long time. But when I was a teenager, I was going through some mental health issues, and I didn't even know what mental health was back then. I was 13, and I stumbled upon an article written in a magazine, and it was by a woman who had overcome this issue that I unbeknowingly was dealing with. She went into detail about how she thought and the experiences that she was having and recovered from. And I realized this woman was me, and we shared a very similar story. And it made me feel not alone. It made me feel not crazy. I knew for the first time there was someone else out there with this thing. So I carried around that article in my back pocket for months. And later, much later, I recovered from this thing as well and wrote an article for a magazine about the original article I had read and how I carried it around in my pocket. It came out in a magazine. And then I was at a coffee shop one day and a girl came up to me and she pulled out my article in her back pocket.
Wow.
And she said that she had been carrying it around to make herself feel not alone. And that was the beginning of my idea of September Letters because I always wanted to do something about this, pay it forward, community sort of aspect that we all have these stories and we may feel like they're unique, but there's actually so many similarities that make us feel like we can get through this together. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it took a long time to figure it out, but I knew I wanted it to be about storytelling. September is my month where I turned things around 12 years ago. And so I think that this now is September meaning hope for me, and hopefully it means that for other people as well.
I think that's so special, and thank you for sharing such a personal story and allowing us to understand the inspiration and the drive behind creating September Letters. So of course you and Jasper had conversation around wanting to get involved and share your stories and continue to expand the conversation around mental wellness. But at what point did you both realize it was really important for you to build an actual community around mental wellness and these conversations? And maybe Brittany, I'll jump back to you and then you can hand over to Jasper.
Sure. I think a huge part of feeling better, to put it simply, I guess, is to understand that we are not alone and that there are many of us and that we're more alike than different. And sometimes that idea and that connection is the thing that makes us feel like it's going to be okay. I know for me,
Mhm.
hearing from someone else that is going through a similar struggle, regardless of what it is. If I'm even feeling anxious and then I read an article about an actress that I look up to who also has anxiety, I think, oh, we all got this. It's going to be okay.
Right. You're not alone in this.
Yeah. And so I feel like that was a huge part of September Letters for us, is creating a community where people can share in their stories. And we didn't want just people to go on the website or social media and complain about things that had happened to them, because we all know things have happened to us all, but we wanted the hope that there is an answer, and the answer is connection.
Yeah, I mean, it was really exciting to work alongside Brittany and see her very clear vision of, and really centered around the idea of community, that we really didn't want this to be a passive experience, but more interactive. And I think that's really hard to achieve, on so many different levels, from a technical aspect, and then also just from actually people getting involved. And, you can submit a letter, you can read a letter, you can request a letter. And those three things, are really exciting for us. And for me, it was just really sort of an honor to just see her vision of passion, to see how people can feel part of something. Because I think we all want to feel part of something, but especially now in the lives that we're living in isolation, it's hard to feel that connection. And that's really what September Letters is, to feel that connection, to not feel alone, and to feel like, you're not the only one going through something that many people are experiencing.
Absolutely. And I know this is such a sensitive topic for people. I know there are people who are open to sharing and have developed into feeling more open to share their stories, but there are also people that are hearing about this and considering sharing for the first time. So what are some of the things that the two of you place emphasis on at September Letters around cultivating a safe space for people to feel open to sharing their stories online?
That's a huge, huge aspect of this, and something that I took very seriously when we started, because I can't even tell you how many times I called Jasper and said, we have to figure this out. It's the most important thing, because I didn't want anyone to be refreshing their website to feel like they had to put themselves out there, or feel like exposed. So you can remain anonymous. You can share a tiny story. We're doing another thing with that called Post-its. You can share just a poem that has inspired you. You can share a letter that someone wrote you, or you wrote someone else, but you don't have to be known. Your name doesn't have to be out there, and we don't use any last names. So it's really just about the story and not necessarily about the person, because let's be honest, we all have similar stories regardless of what our names are.
I think also the important part is that you don't have to share your story if you don't want to. There are so many letters that you can read on the website, on Pinterest, that if you're not ready and you're not at that point where you're feeling comfortable to share something, that's really okay. And we still want you to be part of our community. There's so many different levels of how you can interact with September Letters, and that's something that we're really proud of as well. And I think, going back to Brittany's original story, sometimes you don't even know that you might need help, or that you have something going on, and just reading something can spark that within you. And we are totally open and welcome the people who don't want to share or are just not ready, and we'll get to that place when it's ready for them.
Thank you. And I again echo all of these sentiments. I love that there are different ways people can get involved and feel involved as a part of the community. And I love that we're bringing this to Pinterest, because as somebody who is an employee of Pinterest, is a mental health advocate in my personal time as well, I think one of my biggest draws to this platform was how they place such a strong, safe emphasis around mental wellness. And understanding your mental health. So one of the big things that we launched last year was our compassionate search function. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a function within our search toolbar that prompts specific results based on potentially triggering keywords that a pinner or creator might be searching for. So as an example, if somebody is searching around depression or anxiety, the results that will actually prompt will provide well-being activities and proper information. And these have been curated by experts both at the Stanford Lab for Mental Health Innovation and from the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, among others. I'm very proud of this. I think it's an amazing opportunity to continue to make Pinterest a space where people feel safe. Not only can they share, but they can get resources to the proper information and feel supported in so many different ways. So I'm very proud of that. I'm so grateful to be having this conversation with both of you. And I'm curious, Brittany, you are an actor and a director, and Jasper, you're an entrepreneur and a CEO. What has this journey as coming into a creator and working to build and cultivate this community on Pinterest felt like? How has that felt for you? Does it feel similar to your day job? Are there new things you're learning? Let us know.
Pinterest has been such a huge part of my life. I was late to the party. Everyone always talked about Pinterest, and I was like, I don't know about social media. I have a love hate with it. And then about 5 years ago, or maybe more, probably 7 years ago, I decided to start Pinterest, and I've now become obsessed with it because I really do feel like it is a safe space where you can create a world that builds you up and that you can control the narrative instead of seeing things that might trigger you. I think that, you're within this world, and Jasper talks about this, you're kind of manifesting how you want this to be shaped and what you want it to feel like. And I love that within my own career as well. I use it for my job. When I create a character for something that I'm going to do, I create a Pinterest board of images and colors and things like that, music, and really just a mood sort of thing, for lack of a better word. And I think that's so important. And what I love about September Letters being involved with Pinterest is that you really know that you're getting into a safe space. You're getting into a community of people who are like-minded, and there's nothing on there that's going to bring you down. It's all going to make you feel inclusive and connected.
Great. Jasper, do you want to add anything?
I think she covered it. I really do. I think, but I mean, she hit it all on the head. I mean, for me, what September Letters feels so much what I do on a normal day-to-day basis. What's exciting about it is that, and I think Brittany touched upon this at some point, being a human, I really feel an obligation to help people in a capacity that can't necessarily help me back, which I think is the true definition of helping someone. And, everyone really needs help right now. So the ability to build that community on the safest platform possible for us has been so important, because I think we can all agree that social media has a toxicity that is really dangerous at some points and can be triggering for some people. And, that's something that we think about, 800 times a day, is this triggering? Is this toxic? How can we make this feel safe? How can we foster that creativity without feeling like going into a danger zone? And Pinterest is that. And, for my clients, we use Pinterest for where they want to go, what products they want to develop, what they want to look like. So the ability to use Pinterest for September Letters felt really natural and really exciting, because we can bring these letters to life in video form and static pins and story pins, and really help narrate that story to a different level, and make it like this world that we're living in through a screen, through isolation.
And see, you queued me up so perfectly, because I am interested to hear more about how you've been using some of our new native formats, as you mentioned, story pins and video pins, because we're changing as a platform, and we want our audience to change with us and feel empowered to adopt these tools, play around with them. How have you found it in bringing September Letters onto Pinterest and using some of these new tools?
It's really exciting. I think the tools give us the creative toolbox, so to speak, to build the world that we want to build. And, story pins are really fluid, and they have movement, and they live forever. They don't disappear. And static pins are wonderful too, but the ability to go through slide by slide in story pins and create this sort of narrative, which is really what our platform is all about, storytelling and sharing stories and being this narrative form, has been really cool to participate in. And we've been really having fun making content actually, and creating the idea, storyboarding it, going to shoot it, then doing it on Pinterest. So that's been an exciting aspect as well.
Amazing. Brittany, do you want to add anything?
I know that my dog Billy is a huge fan of story pins because she's now become a star. A little
She
bit.
is
Maybe
a
in her own
story pin star. We could have an entire session just on how much I love Billy and her videos. You definitely need to check out her debut on Pinterest when you follow September Letters on the platform. But she's a breakout star. There's no question.
I think it's not all about Billy. I do have to remind myself that there are other things that I could video or create than my dog. It's hard, but yeah, it's been really great, especially as somebody who likes to create things in general. It's been really nice to use this new format because it is creating, like directing a little video, which has been really fun for me and uses another part of my brain that I haven't been utilizing in the past 6 months. So it's a fun project, and I think anybody can do it. It's and so that's what's been really, really nice.
Yes, and these last 6 or 7 months have definitely not been the normal or the 2020 that many of us anticipated. With that being said, I am curious to hear from both of you. Are there any tips or tricks that you have either discovered on Pinterest or that you've put into practice over these last 7 months to adapt to our new normal and ensure that you are supporting positive mental wellness? And Brittany, I can ask you.
Pinterest is such an important place because it really makes you create this world. I have to put boundaries around the fact that I'm only going to look at this certain thing for so long because I know myself and my mental health comes first. And knowing that that's the same for all sorts of social media and with life too, knowing yourself, knowing your boundaries and sticking to them. Because really right now, I think that we have to create safe spaces for ourselves and for each other, and knowing that we can have the tools to go to another type of board and look at inspirational quotes or learn how to play the ukulele or something like that. There's so many options. That's a huge thing I've been trying to do lately during quarantine, just not spend so much time on my phone.
Amazing. Jasper, how about you? Anything that you've adopted that you want to share with the
I
group?
definitely think boundaries, not even just in the social media world, just in life. Now we all work I work all the time in different time zones on every single day. I don't even know what day it is. It feels like 2020 has just been one really long day. It just doesn't end. And I just sleep and then I get up and I sleep and it's like a weird twilight zone. So I think boundaries in general are really important, of just like saying, okay, this is my time, and checking in with my mental, wellness, mental health, because your physical health is just as important as your mental health. And I do think that we're all kind of in this weird time warp, and taking some time off, like turning off the screens and just checking in with myself, if that's meditation, or I'm a big spiritual person, so I might spend some time with some of my crystals or whatever I'm doing. I think that's really helped me just kind of check back in with myself and see how I'm feeling, and have the ability to then move forward in my life.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things that I'm hearing from both of you is just this idea of putting yourself first in these times and really ensuring that you're checking in with yourself and how you're doing. I think another great piece of advice might be to, if you are spending time offline, use that time to write a letter. We talked about this earlier, where I actually write a letter to myself every year before my birthday. My birthday's in September, so I definitely have a huge affinity to what you're building as a community. And one of the things I was hoping we could talk about are ways that others like myself could get involved in contributing on Pinterest. So Jasper, do you want to tell us a bit about the mailbox and the group board that you've just launched?
This has been really Brittany's vision from the beginning, of like, how do we make it interactive? How can people like send us mail? How do we do this? And Pinterest actually gave us the ability to kind of have a P.O. box, but without actually having the paper onslaught and figuring out how to do that. And the mailbox is really for people to be able to share letters that are important to them, something like what you just referred to if you write a letter to yourself. But it could be a love letter. It could be a letter. I found a letter from my parents that they wrote to me when I was in second grade. Because when I was in school, it used to be a thing. They would do notes on back to school night. And my second grade teacher made this book, and Brittany and I were on the phone one night, and I was like, look at this letter I found. And she's like, Jasper, this is it. This is the letter. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize. But I had a second grade letter from my parents telling me like how special it was that I had the access to education and school, because my grandmother was born in Europe and was an immigrant and didn't speak English, and how important that was. And to read that letter as an adult brought me back to that place. And that's what we want to see in the mailbox. And, beyond that, if you want to write a letter to yourself, but you can also request a letter. You can say, hey, I'm going through this thing. Does anyone have some advice? And then people can kind of answer. And that's what I think we're trying to make with September Letters, is to feel interactive, to feel part of a community. It's really not about Brittany. It's not about me. It's not about, Billy. It's not about September. It's about everyone else, and feeling, it's a lot about Billy. It's really about Billy.
We were both like debatable.
We're like, that's incorrect. But I think it's about this connection of people feeling like, oh my God, I'm really not alone, and something that feels so incredibly isolating in such an incredibly challenging time. Really, everyone's going through, and to be able to see yourself in someone else is the kind of special thing that we're trying to create, and that's why we're so excited about the mailbox board.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled about the mailbox as well. And honestly, this entire conversation has been so wonderful for me, not only on a personal level, but to be able to know that Pinterest is both inspiring you as creators, but also helping to advocate for mental wellness and build out this community. I'm so happy to have spoken with both of you. So thank you so much for this conversation. Please be sure to follow September Letters on Pinterest @September Letters. And thank you everyone for joining us today.